Hi everyone, welcome back to our very first episode of State of the Arts in 2024. Today we're joined by a very special guest, Jason Sibrian. Jason Sibrian is a lively and expressive artist here at Boston College, majoring in neuroscience with a minor in studio art. And today we're going to talk a little bit about your art. Real quick, bio for Jason. Jason was born and raised in Providence, Rhode Island, nice and close, and he comes from a Guatemalan and Salvadorian background and is extremely close with his family, often visiting them in Providence on the weekends, right? Yeah. As an aspiring member of the medical field, Jason often approaches art as a creative outlet in which he incorporates his other personal interests in medicine, family, and heritage. Now, before we start, you have a fire outfit on.
Thank you so much.
I'd love to get an OOTD. Give it to us.
All my friends know how much I love Zara. This top is Zara.
Woo.
These pants are actually from the women's section in H&M because the women's section has a way better selection. And then classic Doc Martens just because, you know, they complete the outfit, give it a little bit of spice.
I love it. It's incredible. And behind us, one of your works. So you want to give us a quick rundown, name, everything?
I'm still trying to figure out a name for it. But I will say that these two figures here are my siblings. I made them model for me one day just because I needed to get something going for class. And so originally it was just these them as like figures on the canvas itself, and everything else I kind of approached it in other words, I was struggling to figure out what I wanted to paint and how I wanted to approach the rest of the canvas. But I've ended up being inspired by one of my favorite artists, his name was Joaquin Sorolla.
Yeah.
He's a Spanish artist. So like literally the entire top is really, really heavily inspired by one of his famous paintings called La Siesta, or like the Nap. And I saw that one in Madrid, which was just so beautiful. And so I kind of wanted to play with this idea of depth and perspective, just because it's something that I tend to struggle with a lot in my art.
Yeah.
And so that's why I like the figures in the back, or that one's slightly smaller, but it kind of creates this like depth that they're farther away than the two figures up front.
Yeah, well, it's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, so how did you first get into painting?
So ever since I was a kid, I would always just draw like stick figures, very like minimal or simple things as kids do. And then senior year of high school, I took AP Studio Art. And in that class, I never picked up a paintbrush. I just did oil pastels, which are just like really fancy crayons, essentially. And that's when I started exploring myself more as an artist. I didn't really think I was that good at first, but as time continued and like, as the class progressed, I continued exploring what I could do or just risking things. And then I started to develop a love for art, and seeing all my other classmates too was really, really inspiring, just because I didn't see that much art expression before that class. And so to see like all of my close friends showing a side of art just really, really inspired me to figure out what my artistic outlet was. And so it really started senior year, but I didn't get into painting until junior year, until sophomore year at BC, because I took painting 1. And it's funny because I only took it for the core, because I got a 3 on the AP Studio Art exam, which I was so mad about because I wanted to use that credit. But it really worked out because as a result, I took painting 1 and realized, oh, I actually really like painting. And so now I'm a studio art minor.
It's huge. Wow, good for you. So looking at this, I see lots of human bodies. Right, I don't know if I've looked at some of your art. I feel like that's a common motif or symbol. Tell me about that. What interests you about the human body?
I don't know. I've thought about it a lot, and I can't really give one reason as to why I'm so drawn to the figure. I guess I could say that maybe it's the medical interest or the interest I have in medicine. You know, about the anatomy of the human, how the human body like functions. But just looking at art, I've always been more drawn to the figure, just because I think that the figure is way more expressive, especially just like in the colors that artists have used or the movements of the body, and just creating so many different ideas or trying to convey different messages through a figure. And the way that artists have done it in the past has just been mind-blowing to me. And so I think that is what really drew me to the human figure.
Yeah.
And I also think of it as just like a reflection of myself too. like in a lot of my earlier paintings, it was a lot of self-portraiture, and I think a lot of artists can relate to that too, just because they tend to use themselves as a reference. And yeah, just playing with that idea and then going from there. But yeah, honestly, I don't really know why. I just love the human body, to be honest. I think it's gorgeous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I stalked your art Instagram account. I don't know if you want to plug it for the listeners. You don't have to.
JasonSibrian.art.
JasonSibrian.art on Instagram. And I love how you express yourself and draw yourself. Do you find that like when you're painting yourself, you have like any like self-reflection or like self-discovery and like the way you portray yourself?
In this like an introspection?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. I think in a few paintings, yeah. It's like my first self-portrait that I did for painting one. I did it on being LGBTQ or like being gay, and that like painting it and like actually having like the flag, like painting the flag like behind my face.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to say that like it made it more real, but the fact that it was just on like a canvas kind of just made me sit and think like, okay, like yeah, like this is me.
Yeah.
And then from there, I think I just loved color, and so I wanted, especially within my own portraits of like of myself, of my face, or like of my body, I just loved using color to kind of just show that love that I have for it through the figure. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, that's beautiful, absolutely. I know you mentioned briefly about an artist that inspires you, Joaquin
Sorolla.
Yeah. Are there any other artists that are like you look up to or
Yeah.
inspire you? Yeah.
Literally every single person who has taken an art class with me can answer this question because it's the only artist I ever talk about. Her name is Jenny Saville or Saville. I don't really know how to pronounce her last name, but she's a British artist and she's still alive. She's a contemporary artist. She's insane. Yeah. She does a lot of figurative work, or honestly, all of her work is bodies. But the thing about her art that really, really drew me to it was that she tends to paint figures that aren't deemed as beautiful by society. She'll do a lot of people who are overweight or someone that you would maybe call ugly, for example, just to challenge this idea of what beauty is through art. And I think that she does it in such an incredible and uplifting way that really defies what we as a society and as artists determine to be beautiful. And so her, the way she literally will throw it onto a canvas to display to the world, I just think it's incredible, and it's so inspiring.
Yeah.
And it's just very progressive, because when you look throughout art history, you see so many reflections of the human being, right? But these reflections tend to be very perfect figures. Like if you look at Diego Velázquez, which is another Spanish painter, he painted in this ideal realistic way, or ideal realism, in the sense that all of his figures in all of his paintings were very, very perfect. You know, like the very muscular man, the six-pack, like abs, very young, and for like the woman very, very beautiful, like what society would call beautiful. And now as we progress throughout like the decades in art, we see that artists are changing the way that they define beauty. And Jenny Saville is like one of the most impactful artists when it comes to that, I think. And so I just really appreciate her stuff.
That's beautiful. Good for you. Yeah, that's really inspiring. You are such a, you have a lot of layers to you, I feel like, just from this conversation. I mean, neuroscience major, right? And then doing art on top of that. And I looked at your LinkedIn, you're doing anesthesia work, right?
Yeah.
Kind of. And also LaSalle Bakery in Rhode Island, 2011 Retail Bakery of the Year. You're a sales associate.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, sure.
All right, can you sell me a baked good?
From LaSalle?
Yeah.
Yeah, everything in that bakery is really good, to be honest. Like everything. If you wanted something, I don't know, do you want something tiny or do you want something like big?
Whatever you want.
Let's see.
I feel like I'm like an after dinner, I want a little sweet treat.
Okay, a sweet treat. Oh my god, that's so hard. Maybe they're cannolis.
They're cannolis.
Their cannolis are so good.
Okay.
And they have these really tiny little like cheesecake cups.
Yeah.
Almost. That, oh my god.
That's adorable.
Yeah.
Do you find this sales associate for LaSalle Bakery in your art? Like,
No.
to inspire you?
Not at
Okay,
all.
never mind. No, never mind. Cool. Okay, bringing it back even further, you're not doing that anymore, right?
No.
Okay, neuroscience, art, salesperson, high school. Tell me about your shot put days.
My shot put days, that's so funny. Okay, I actually was awful at shot put.
You're awful
like
at shot put?
terrible at shot put.
I watched
was,
one of your like highlight reels or something. You threw it. and
No,
you
you're
kinda came
you're
after
thinking
it.
about the weight. Because there's like the shot put, which is from the neck.
Oh,
and then there's like
I was
the
thinking about the
weight.
swinging.
Yeah,
the swinging
that's-
one. Okay, I was misled.
Mhm.
So
So,
tell me
like-
about that.
Yeah, I was the captain senior year for the team. That was really fun. That was actually a really big part of my life that was kind of gone now, which I'm really sad about because when I was a senior, I wanted to continue it in college. And I got recruited to a couple of schools for it,
Yeah.
but I knew I wanted to be in Boston to continue pursuing medicine, so I ended up choosing BC. But it was a big part of who I was in high school. I loved it. It was really fun, although it like really hurt my back once.
Yeah.
But besides that, it was good.
Cool. Well, we're actually currently with two of Jason's friends here, Dom and Drake, and maybe one day you can bring them shot putting and
Yeah, I'll
spinning
teach you
balls,
guys.
Whatever. Yeah, you promise? They have their word. They said no. Okay, cool. Anyways, back to BC.
Back to BC.
Actually, no. Hold on. I was stalking you on Twitter, and I feel
No.
like you're like quite the
Twitter?
artist. And I came upon this work of art, and I feel like I would love to hear the background of this. Absolutely no one, me, hitting the whoa. 2019. That's kind of recent.
Look at the
recent.
difference in like my hair, for example.
You kind of hate with this.
Yeah, right.
Okay, cool. I just thought that was funny and silly.
Wow,
And,
yeah.
I'm currently learning how to juju on that beat again.
I honestly, maybe, I don't know.
Crowd goes silent.
Literally, yeah.
I would
maybe cut
I
that.
would, yeah, I might cut that. It's kind of funny though.
Okay.
Can you hit the whoa for us right now?
Which one was the one?
The one that you just did in the video.
This?
Yeah, 8. Okay, we're gonna add sound effects to that. It's gonna be really cool. Okay, back to it. So neuroscience and studio art. Tell me about your STEM classes and your arts classes. So I'm doing business and theater, so it's like very different, and I use very different sides of like my agency and creativity changes, and I'm actually in a really cool design class, so I'm able to incorporate my theater and artistic side into my business, marketing, design,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. So I'm curious, do you see any overlappings? What are the pros and cons of taking both, and things like that?
There's definitely a lot of overlaps, and it's funny because a lot of neuroscience majors, or a good amount of them, are also studio art minors, and I didn't
Yeah.
realize that, but that's what some of the professors have told me. But yeah, there's a lot of overlap, just because when I think about art and the brain, I mean obviously because I studied the brain, so we're going so deep into how we're able to function, like thinking about the neurons at play that literally allow us to make words, or to move our hands, or to like think of an idea.
Yeah.
And so when I paint, I'm always appreciative of the fact that I'm capable of doing it because of the networks at play, or like the different neural mechanisms that are going on to literally allow me to, pick up a paintbrush and put what I'm thinking onto a canvas. And it's really interesting because in our like textbooks, and I'm sure every person of any background with respect to what they're studying can agree on this, but textbooks have images in them, and someone obviously drew that or made that art.
Yeah.
And for so long I would see, in my textbooks, pictures of, I don't know, the anatomy of the human, or drawings of neurons, for example, but I never thought of it as art. I more so just thought of it as,
Yeah.
what we're learning. And so after taking art and putting, my medical interests and my artistic interests together, I then started appreciating what I would see in my textbooks, because, not just everyone can do that, or see like like a live neuron or
Yeah.
a live brain and then draw it in a cartoony way so that we can understand it, at our level.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely so many ways that neuroscience and art connect.
That's really cool. Good for you. So yeah, you're opening your own exhibit in Gallery Carney 203 on February 22nd from 7 to 9 p.m. Tell me about that.
So yeah, the arts counselor reached out to me, asked if I wanted to have my own show. Of course I said yes, because it's super exciting. I mean,
Yeah.
I've never been able to display, or I've displayed some art in the Arts Walk before, but I think to have like my own solo show is very, very, very incredible. And I'm super, super grateful for that opportunity.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I like to ask all my guests this before we end our talk, but in terms of art, what needs to be talked about on campus, like specific to BC?
In terms of art,
Yeah.
People need to be more creative. I don't know, I think, not to paint BC in a negative way, but I think there's a lot of artists, but I think that people don't know that they can do something with that.
Yeah.
And like, I didn't even know that I could do something with it. And a lot of people aren't even aware of the arts department or where we paint in the art studios. And so I think there needs to be definitely more of a voice for the arts department, and for the opportunities that people have to just explore their own interests.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us for State of the Arts.
Thank you for having me.
Reminder, I hope everyone comes out for your exhibit.
Please.
February 22nd, 7 to 9 p.m., Carney 203. We'll see you there.
Thank you.
Thank you.